Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. I've just finished filming a video. It is my September favourites and I think it'll go up just after this one. I have done just a little bit of vlogging. There's only one part that I'll probably show you in today's video. It was about 2.5 weeks ago now. I decided for the very first time to go to Hobbiton because it's very close to where we live, and I don't know whether you guys are like that as well, but there might be something that lots of people from around the world want to see, but you live quite close but you've never really been yourself. So I decided that I would go. Now I didn't go on a tour, but what I did go to was there was the cafe part and the gift shop, and just wanted to see really where it was. So as I was saying, it's only about 20 minutes from here and it is a really beautiful drive. There were quite a lot of people the second day that I went. Now I went 2 days in a row because I went the first day by myself just to have a look around, and then I was speaking to my younger brother the next day and said how I'd been to Hobbiton and it's really nice there, and just also explaining that I didn't go on the tour but they are doing up parts of that. You can still go on a tour there, but I'd really rather wait till they've done the things that they're going to do and maybe go probably January or February next year. Anyway, he doesn't live very far away from it either, so he said, well, let's meet up and we'll have a coffee. So the next day that I went, when I met up with my brother, we went to the cafe that day and also to the gift shop, and it was actually International Hobbit Day, or International Hobbiton Day I think it's called, and I didn't realise, and there were a lot of really hardcore Lord of the Rings fans there. So like I said, I did a little bit of vlogging of it. It's just really where the cafe area is and the setup itself is really beautiful. So I'll show you my little trip to Hobbiton now. So it's actually been really quiet here for the last 2.5 weeks. Now it is Sunday today, and it was 4 or 5 days ago I got my second lot of needling done. This time I did get the numbing cream on, and I had that on for at least 20 minutes before I got the needling done. Now I'm not going to say that it took away the pain of the needling completely. It was still fairly painful, but it definitely, with the numbing cream, takes that edge off it. And this time in a couple of places she went a little bit deeper. So the places that I sort of find the most painful is the forehead, because it's more bony there. And last time it didn't feel very painful on my neck at all, but this time she did go deeper, and it's hard to describe what it was like on my neck. It was sort of a mixture between it tickling and painful as well. It was really, really odd. The other thing was, she said to me, because I mentioned to her that my skin didn't really go dry as such last time, it recovered within 2 or 3 days, and she said, oh well, this time it might. Well, my skin's sort of getting back towards normal already, and I haven't had any dryness or flakiness either. What I do, and also what they recommend as well, and they give you 3 items of skincare to use. I tend not to use it, not because it's no good, but I sort of know what to do when your skin has been sensitized, and when you've had needling, your skin definitely is sensitized. So what I do, and also what they recommend, is morning and night, all I do is cleanse, and then I did put on an essence, and then I moisturize. There's absolutely no actives, there's no AHAs, no BHAs, and no retinol. So I just keep it very simple. And in the morning, of course, the last step is SPF, which I use every day anyway. So the SPF that I normally use, I have no issues with my skin. The other thing, and I mentioned this in my September favorites video because I'm just so impressed with it. What I wasn't sure of was, I recently purchased, and it's new to me, it's the Lumiere, I think it's called the Genaissance Infusing Lotion, or it's something like that. And it comes in this fairly big bottle, and it's supposed to be put on first before you put on any of your other skincare. So it's supposed to prep your skin, and it leaves it velvety smooth. Now I use this as the essence step on the last few days since I had the needling. I'd used it before the needling, but I used it afterwards as well. Now at first I wasn't sure, so the next morning I had the needling done on the Wednesday, and on the Thursday morning I thought, should I give this a try? And what I did was I just put a couple of drops of it on my hand and put a tiny bit on my neck, and thought if it starts to sting or feels like it's a bit sensitized there, then I won't put the rest on my face. So I popped some on, didn't feel a thing, so I thought, right, I'll put it on my face, and absolutely no stinging whatsoever. So during those last few days where your skin has been sensitized, this is just beautiful. It is hydrating, and it left my skin velvety smooth. I've also put it on this morning. This morning I started my normal skincare routine again in the mornings with my niacinamide and also my vitamin C. I have no issues with my skin, so my skin has definitely, within that 3 to 4 day period, has come back to normal again, and the effects of the needling I think are looking really, really good. So I do have one more session of the needling to go, and as I was saying, it wasn't as painful this time because of the numbing cream, but I'm not gonna lie, it still is what I would say is fairly painful, but I do think the results are worth it. So now I'm going to go to the everyday makeup part of this video. So I'm going to go to the beauty room. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to use today. First of all, I've got to take this makeup off that I use for my favorites video, and I think I will use probably mostly Chanel today, And I think I'm also going to use one drugstore foundation that I recently got and has been an absolute surprise. So I think I will use that today as well. So I'm going to wash this makeup off and I will meet you in my beauty room. This rogue here. That's better. So all that makeup is washed off, and then I've also just put on some sunscreen as well, the one that I always use. So I'm just deciding which primer to use because the foundation that I'm going to use is more on the hydrating side. I do have oily skin, but because I had that needling done a few days ago, it's definitely not as oily as it normally is. So the last few times that I've used this foundation, and I do really love it, this drugstore one, I think it is gorgeous. I used the Victoria Beckham one. I used the Chanel mattifying one before I had the needling done. And since I've had the needling done, I've been reaching for the Victoria Beckham one. So I think that's the one that I'll use today. So I'm just going to grab one pump of this. Now, this was gifted to me quite a long time ago. I think this is a beautiful primer. It's probably more geared towards those with normal to dry skin, but I do get use out of it, like these times when my skin isn't as oily because of the needling, or other times that I use a foundation that's more matte, then I reach for this primer. I think it gives a really, really beautiful base for your foundation. So the foundation that I'm going to use today, it is a L'Oreal one. Now I'm trying to think if I've used any other drugstore foundation, and I think I may have a long time ago tried a CoverGirl foundation. And I'm not quite sure whether I liked it or not. It's so long ago, I can't remember. I think it may have been the wrong shade that I picked up. So this is the L'Oreal. It is the True Match Super Blendable Foundation. And it comes in really beautiful packaging. It is glass with the chrome there, and it has a pump dispenser. Now, because it is a drugstore foundation, it doesn't come in a fancy box or anything like that. It has the tight plastic around to seal it. Now, like most L'Oreal products, except for the mascara, because I picked up a few other things as well, but I'll try them in another video. This has a shelf life of 24 months. And I think that this, I'm just double checking, but I think this is made in France. So yes, I've just double checked, a little writing on the back here, and it is made in France, and it has 30 mils of product. I was shocked with this. Now I picked up the shade 3.5N. This is probably maybe a tad light. Now the place that I picked this up did have quite a few of the shades, but there are more. And I'm thinking possibly 4N could be, it would be probably more perfect, but this matches really well. So I'm going to put one pump on my hand. Now the other days when I've used this, one pump has actually been a little bit too much, but we'll just see how it goes. So it is quite runny. This feels super light on the skin, and how I've been putting it on is I'm just dotting it around just one side of my face first, and then if I need to add some more, I do. And at this stage, I've only been putting it on with a dampened beauty blender. I imagine you'd probably get a bit more coverage if you used a brush. So the coverage that I get from this would be, it would be a light medium. It does give a really, really lovely finish. Now, I didn't expect this to last. I thought, well, once it goes on, it may look really good, and then an hour or two later, it may start to oxidize or start to go patchy, but it doesn't. It actually looks really beautiful. And the last times that I've been wearing it, I've worn it for up to probably about 12 hours, and it has stayed really beautifully. If it started to wear off, it wears off very evenly. There's no patchiness to it. It really is a lovely foundation. And just like with the other foundations that I use, the bits that's left on the sponge, I don't get any extra. I just put that over my eyelid and I put it under my eye as well. I find that this doesn't settle into pores and it does blur to some degree, not as much as other foundations that I've got, but it doesn't settle or crease. It looks really lovely. So I'm just dotting on the other side. And I don't think I'll need much more than this, and that's how much more I've still got left on my hand, and that's just from one pump. So I probably just need maybe slightly over half a pump. And the pump itself is actually, you can control it, so it's not just one press and you always have to get the full pump. You can press it lightly and just get as much as you need. So with that much left on my hand, you can see really that's all the coverage that I need. So that's all the foundation that I'm going to put on. I'm not going to use the rest that's on my hand. I could build it up, and this foundation also builds up really beautifully as well. But I quite like this light medium look, and your skin still shows through. I think it gives a really beautiful finish. As you can see, it doesn't seal into any of my lines. It is just gorgeous. So for concealer today, I'm going to use the Sisley one. This is the Phyto Eclat one, and this is in shade 2. I hadn't used this for quite a while until I did the Sisley Family and Friends video. And when I used it again, I thought it is really lovely. I love it because it has that peach undertone, so you get concealer and corrector in one. It would be a light medium type of coverage. It certainly doesn't give a full coverage, but again, I do like that look for my everyday makeup. And just so this video doesn't go on too long, I have already done my eyebrows and I've put on eyeshadow primer, and I also powdered over the concealer as well. The powder that I'm going to use for my face, this is the Chanel Natural Finish Loose Powder. And for the brush today, I think I will use the Lumiere brush. So I just need to just give this a little bit of a shake. And I'm not going to put a lot of this powder on. Now this foundation does feel like it needs powdering down with my oily skin. As I was saying, it's a little bit drier than it normally is at the moment. It's still oily, but not quite as oily as it normally is, and that's just because of the kneeling that I had a few days ago. And this foundation is more on the glowy side, so I've only got the tiniest amount of powder. I'm just going to just dot some around and just buff it in, so not much of this powder at all. And for powder today, I'm going to use a Guerlain one, and this is the Terracotta Light. I have quite a few of these in different shades. Sometimes I use two together. Today I'm just going to use the one. This is the one 05, and it is in Deep Warm. I love these bronzers. I think they are beautiful. So I'm just going to grab a brush. I'm going to take the Sonia G. This is the Jumbo Bronzer. And just put just a light amount on, just to give a really subtle warmth. So I can still smell the fragrance in this bronzer. It is nowhere near as strong as when you first buy them. I happen to love the fragrance. I think it is beautiful. And I love these bronzers. I think they are gorgeous, and they give this really beautiful warmth to the skin. So not only have I got them in warm, I've also got them in the cool shades as well. And often, like I was saying, I do mix them together, and together they look really beautiful. But today I just want to stay with this really subtle warmth. I think it's really lovely. For eyeshadow today, it is a Chanel one, and it is a new to me one, and I've been meaning to pick this up for quite a while. And this is in the 1204. This is TC Vendome. This is such a beautiful color story. I'm just tipping out the two applicators that come with it. This is absolutely gorgeous, and I've already worn it a couple of times and I'm so happy that I picked it up. It is really pretty. So I'm going to start off with, I think the shade that I'll begin with is this one up here. I'm going to take a Sonia G brush, and this one here, this is the Blender Pro. So start off with this shade here, and I'm going to put this all over the lid. This is going to be, it's going to be a really soft look, and they're the looks that I usually do in my videos, and definitely the look that I do for my everyday makeup. And then I'm going to stay with the shade. I'm going to take the rephr number 3, and I'm going to run that under my lower lash line. Then I'm going to take the rephr 14, go into the darker shade, and as usual with my eye looks, I'm going to put the deeper shade in the outer corner, blend it through towards the middle, and just take it just slightly above the crease. And I'm just going to add just a little bit more. Then go back to the rephr 3 in the darker shade and put that on my lower lash line as well. Then I want to just use a little bit of this shade here. So what I'm going to do, this is the rephr 13, and I'm just going to put a little bit of the shade just through here. And then I've just wiped down the rephr 3, and I'm going to stay with the shade because I want to put just a little bit of that just on my lower lash line as well, just through here. And then we'll take the Sonia G, this is the Builder Pro, and go into the lighter shade and just put that through here. And then for blush today, I'm going to use one of the new, this is the Chanel, this is the Oversized Illuminating Powder. This is the one in Precious Coral. So that's what I'm going to be using as a blush. It is beautiful as a highlighter, but this works really beautifully as a blush as well. And I got the design with the interlocking C's with the pearls. I think this is gorgeous. I also picked up the one in Pearly White, and I got these quite a while ago. They were released here in New Zealand. It was probably at least about 4 or 6 weeks ago now, and I did a video showing both of these. The Pearly White one is more sparkly, and it can have a little bit of fallout. It is beautiful as a highlighter, and the Pearly White one is also beautiful on your eyes as well. Both are really beautiful. The one in Pearly White, I got the chains design, but I'll put a link up here if you want to take a look at them both side by side. So I'm going to be using this as a blush. So I'm going to take my Chukahodo brush and just swirl in there. And I wore this the other day with this eyeshadow quad, and I thought together it looked really lovely. So this has a really beautiful illumination, but I think that it's quite subtle, and it doesn't emphasize the texture that I have. I think these are really beautiful. Like I was saying, they work beautifully as a highlighter, but this one in particular, this coral, works beautifully as a blush as well. And I'm also going to use a highlight today as well, and this is the brand new, this is the Sublimage, this is the Lumiere, and I still have it in this box. I did a video on this the other day and also did some comparison to some other liquid highlighters that I've got as well. Now this does come with a brush, and the brush is beautiful and soft. You can have a better look at that in the other video, but I tend to use the liquid highlighters just using it with my fingers. This is really beautiful. So I'm just going to give it just a little bit of a shake, Now, because I'm just going to put it here, maybe a little bit on the bridge of my nose, I'm not going to put out a full pump. I'm just going to use just the smallest amount, and the pump is controllable as well. It's not like you do a pump and a full pump comes out each time. You can control it. So this is what it is like. It is so beautiful. Now this dries down beautifully as well. And in the video, when I first tried this, I used this over my eyeshadow and it looked really lovely. It gives this really beautiful, it does have a sparkle in it. It's not chunky. It doesn't emphasize texture. I think it gives, I called it a twinkle. I wouldn't say it is a full-on sparkle. It's more just like all these beautiful little twinkles. So I'm just popping the smallest amount on just to give that added highlight to my cheekbones. It is so pretty, and it has that distinct Sublimage fragrance, which I think is gorgeous, and it is quite subtle. I don't find it overwhelming in any way. So a little bit on the bridge of the nose, and just a little bit, just what's left on my hand, just a little bit above here as well. Hardly any, all very subtle, really, really pretty. And finally for lipstick, I'm going to use a Chanel one. This is the Le Rouge Duo, and this is the shade. Everything that I've put on my face today, I will have listed and linked below, like I always do in my videos. This is a really, really beautiful shade, just gorgeous. Here is the final look. It is very soft, really pretty. Let's talk about this foundation. It is gorgeous, and maybe I was lucky and just picked a really good one for my first drugstore foundation, but it is beautiful. You can see that it's wearing beautifully on my skin. It's not settling into any lines. It is really gorgeous. I think people with oily skin can definitely wear this, and absolutely people with normal to dry skin would love this foundation. With oily skin, I think you would have to use a primer because, like I said, I just had needling done, so my skin is usually a lot more oily than what it is today. But I think those with oily skin could use this using a more mattifying primer, or definitely a foundation for in the cooler months. If you've got oily skin like me, but it's not quite as oily during fall, winter, or early spring, then you can wear this foundation as well. You will need to powder it just a little bit, but it is absolutely gorgeous. And Chanel never fails. I think this color story is absolutely beautiful. I wish I'd bought it sooner. I don't know why I didn't. It is absolutely gorgeous, and these oversized illuminating powders are beautiful. I am so pleased that I picked this up. I do tend to reach for this more than the other one that I got in pearly white, not because there's anything wrong with the pearly white, it's just that it is a lot more sparkly, has a little bit of fallout. It is beautiful as an extra highlight on the cheekbone, and as I said, it goes beautifully on the eyes as well. But this one here is not only is it beautiful as a highlight, but it is gorgeous just as a blush as I used it today. It is really beautiful. And the Sublimage, the Lumiere, gorgeous. Has that beautiful twinkle. It sits beautifully on the skin. It doesn't move any product underneath. This goes really well over powder. It won't lift the powder underneath. And when I touch it now, it has dried down. There is no tackiness whatsoever. This is a really beautiful product. Now, in the video, when I first reviewed this, I first tried it by mixing it in with a foundation, and I did think it looked really beautiful, but I do think that technique of mixing liquid highlighters in with a foundation is probably more geared towards those with normal to dry skin. I could do it more maybe in the middle of winter during cooler months, But for me, as a highlighter, I just think it is gorgeous. And the Le Rouge Duo by the Chanel for the lipstick is beautiful. These are fabulous. Once they are on, they do not budge, and I love this shade. I think it is really pretty, and I have about 3 or 4 of them, and this is the shade that I reach for the most. I think it is really gorgeous. So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.